Have you ever looked at your dinner plate and thought, I'm eating less than I used to, so why am I still gaining weight? Or maybe you said, I don't eat that much. I skip breakfast. I count every calorie. Nothing works anymore. If that's you, this episode is for you. Because somewhere along the way, many of us are taught that losing weight is nothing more than a simple math problem. Eat less, move more. Burn more calories than you consume. Problem solved. Except, if that were really the case, if it was really that simple, why are so many people over 40 doing exactly that and getting nowhere? Today I want to introduce to you a different way of thinking. One that just might explain why your body seems to have changed the rules without telling you. Welcome back to Over 40 and Done with Diets. I'm Coach Neil. First, let me say something that I hope takes a little pressure off of your shoulders. You're probably not failing. You're probably solving the wrong problem. Now, don't misunderstand me. Calories absolutely matter. Food contains energy. Your body requires energy. None of that is controversial. But somewhere along the way, we reduced one of the most amazing biological systems ever created into nothing more than a calculator. And your body is so much more sophisticated than that. Here's today's big idea. I'd even encourage you to write it down. Calories count. Hormones decide what to do with them. That's the entire episode in one sentence. Calories matter, but they aren't the whole story. Because your body isn't asking only how much energy came in, it's also asking, what kind of energy was it? Do I need to store it? Can I burn it? Should I build muscle? Should I conserve energy because something doesn't seem right? Those questions are answered through hormones, through metabolism, through the signals your body receives all day long. And once you understand those signals, everything begins to make a lot more sense. One of the most common analogies you'll ever hear is that calories work like money in a bank account. Deposit more than you withdraw, you gain. Withdraw more than you deposit, and you'll lose. It's a simple analogy, and like most simple analogies, it tells just part of the story, but not all of it. Because your body isn't a bank account, it's a chemistry lab. Imagine two people working at the same company. They both earn the exact same salary. One steadily builds wealth, pays off debt, invests for the future. The other spends every paycheck before Friday. Same income, completely different outcome. Calories are simply the fuel that arrives. Hormones decide where that fuel goes. Do we burn it? Do we store it? Do we repair tissue? Do we build muscle? Or tuck it away for later? Those decisions aren't made with a calculator. They're made through chemical signals happening inside your body every minute of every day. One of the most important of those signals is insulin. Now, don't tune out because I used a science word. This is actually pretty simple. Insulin isn't the villain. It's an essential hormone. Without insulin, we wouldn't survive. Its job is to move nutrients where they're needed. Think of it as a traffic officer directing cars through a busy intersection. Most of the time, that's exactly what you want. The problem isn't insulin. The problem is when insulin rarely gets a chance to come back down. When insulin remains elevated much of the day, your body has a harder time accessing its stored body fat. Think of it like trying to empty your garbage while someone keeps backing moving trucks into your driveway. Can you still clean the garage? Sure, but you're making the job much harder than it has to be. Let me paint a picture. Picture two different Tuesday mornings. The first one starts off with a bowl of sugary cereal, a glass of orange juice, and maybe a piece of toast. By 10:30, you're already thinking about food. Someone brings donuts into the office, and suddenly they look impossible to resist. Lunch can't get here fast enough. Now picture a different breakfast. 3 eggs, a couple slices of bacon or sausage, maybe half an avocado, coffee. Same person, same morning. 10:30 comes, and you're still doing just fine. No desperate search for a snack, no countdown to lunch. In fact, noon rolls around and lunch almost sneaks up on you. What changed? It wasn't your willpower, it was the signals. The food sent a very different message to your metabolism. One meal encouraged a roller coaster. The other encouraged stability. That's why simply counting calories doesn't always tell the whole story. 2 meals can contain similar calories while producing very different responses inside your body. And once you begin seeing food that way, everything starts to look different. Your body isn't keeping a calorie ledger, it's responding to instructions. And food is one of the loudest instructions you can give it every single day. If you're over 40, you've probably noticed something. Things that worked in your 20s don't seem to work the same anymore. You can skip meals, cut your portions, spend a little extra time on the treadmill, maybe you lose a few pounds, and then everything comes to a screeching halt. Sound familiar? It's frustrating, it's discouraging, and if you're not careful, you'll start believing the problem is you. Maybe you tell yourself, I must not have enough discipline. I just need to try harder. Maybe I'm getting lazy. Can I tell you something? I hear those words all the time, and most of the time, they simply aren't true. You're not lazy, you're not broken, your body has changed. That's what's different. As you get older, your metabolism becomes more sensitive to the signals that we send it. Many of us become less insulin sensitive. Hormones naturally shift. Recovery takes longer. Stress accumulates. That's a big one. Sleep often becomes more fragmented, and muscle becomes easier to lose, unless we intentionally preserve it. That's why the advice to simply eat less and move more often stops working. It's trying to solve a hormonal problem with a mathematical solution. Now remember the 4 pillars we've talked about since episode 1: nutrition, sleep, activity, and mindset. Today's focus is on nutrition, but your metabolism doesn't separate them. Poor sleep raises cortisol. Chronic stress influences food choices and appetite. Less movement often means less muscle. And negative thinking can become chronic stress all by itself. Everything is connected. That's why at PHDsynergy, we don't chase isolated solutions. We build metabolic momentum. Because when all 4 pillars begin working together, your body starts receiving one clear, consistent message. We're safe. We're nourished. We can heal. And that message changes everything. Now, let's talk about something that deserves far more attention than it usually gets. Muscle. For years, the conversation around weight loss was all about becoming smaller. Smaller portions, smaller clothes, smaller number on the scale. But very few people asked, what kind of weight are we losing? Because your body doesn't automatically burn fat only. If you're constantly undereating, especially without enough protein or resistance training, your body may also be breaking down muscle. And that's the last thing we want. Think of your muscle as your body's engine. If you've ever driven a vehicle with a bigger engine, you know it isn't just about speed, it's about capacity. It can pull more, it can carry more, handle more tough conditions. Your muscles work the same way. They improve insulin sensitivity. They give your body somewhere to store glucose appropriately. They support balance, strength, bone health. They help you stay independent as you age. And yes, they influence how much energy your body naturally uses every day. That's one of the reasons I encourage to think about protein first. Not because protein is trendy, not because someone on social media said it's the latest hack, because after 40, muscle is one of the greatest metabolic assets that you have. Every meal becomes an opportunity to either support it or neglect it. Now, don't misunderstand me. You don't have to become a bodybuilder. You don't have to spend 6 days a week in the gym. Most people can dramatically improve their metabolic health with 2 or 3 strength training sessions each week, combined with consistent eating and having enough protein at each meal. Simple, sustainable, effective. And here's something I hope sticks with you. The scale only measures one thing. Your body is changing hundreds of things. Think about that. The scale doesn't know you're sleeping better. It doesn't know that your blood sugar is improving. It doesn't know your knees hurt less. The scale doesn't know that you're getting stronger. It doesn't know that you're thinking more clearly. The scale certainly doesn't know that you've started believing in yourself again. It only knows gravity. You and your body, you know much more than that. Sometimes the scale is simply the last thing to catch up. But preserving muscle isn't the only goal. We also want to help your body rediscover something that it was designed to do, to use its own stored fuel. That's where another concept comes in, metabolic flexibility. Now, don't let that term scare you. Metabolic flexibility sounds like something you'd hear in a graduate level physiology class. But the idea is actually pretty simple. It's your body's ability to switch between burning the food you just ate and burning the energy you've already stored. Think of it like a hybrid vehicle. Sometimes it runs on gasoline, sometimes it runs on electricity. It doesn't panic when one fuel source isn't available, it simply switches. Your body was designed to do something very similar. After you eat, it uses the nutrients from the meal you just ate. Between meals, it should be able to tap into the energy that you've stored as body fat. That's normal, that's healthy, that's how we were designed. But for many adults today, that switch doesn't happen very efficiently. Years of eating highly processed foods, frequent snacking, sugary drinks, and constantly elevated insulin can leave your body relying almost exclusively on incoming fuel. So instead of smoothly transitioning to stored energy, your body starts asking for another snack, then another, and then another. And you know what that feels like. You eat breakfast, and by mid-morning, you're hungry again. You make it to lunch, but by 3 o'clock, you're digging through the break room looking for something sweet. Dinner satisfies you until 8:30 rolls around, and suddenly you're standing in front of the pantry. It's easy to believe that that's a lack of discipline. Many times, it's simply a metabolism that's forgotten how to access its backup fuel tank. When your metabolism becomes more flexible, something remarkable happens. The constant urgency around food begins to quiet down. You realize, wow, I haven't even thought about eating for several hours. Your energy becomes steadier. Your cravings become less intense. You're no longer riding that cycle of peaks and crashes. And here's the important part. That doesn't happen because you suddenly became mentally tougher. It happens because your body's finally receiving better signals. Real food, enough protein, healthy fats, fewer ultra-processed foods, appropriate meal timing, strength training, quality sleep, stress management. Did you catch that? We just visited all 4 pillars yet again. Because while today's conversation is mostly about nutrition, nutrition never works alone. Your metabolism is listening to everything. Every meal, every workout, every night of sleep, every stressful day, every encouraging thought, every choice sends a message. The question is, what message are we sending? So where do we go from here? If you've spent years counting calories, I'm not asking you to forget everything that you've ever learned. I'm asking you to zoom out a little bit. Instead of asking, how can I eat less? Try asking, how can I nourish my metabolism better? That's a very different question. It leads to very different decisions. If I were coaching you one-on-one right now, here's where I'd begin. First, prioritize protein. Build your meals around protein. Protein helps you preserve muscle. It promotes satiety. And after 40, protecting muscle is one of the best investments you can make in your future health. Second, pay attention to food quality, not just food quantity. 2 meals may contain similar calories, yet produce completely different hormonal responses. One leaves you hungry an hour later. The other keeps you satisfied for most of the afternoon. Your metabolism notices that difference, even if your calorie tracker doesn't. Third, don't be afraid of healthy fats. For decades, we've been taught to fear fat, but healthy fats help support hormone production. They increase satisfaction after meals, and they often make it much easier to stop chasing snacks throughout the day. Fourth, move your body with purpose. Not to punish yourself for what you ate yesterday, but to build the healthier body you want tomorrow. Strength training isn't simply about burning calories. It's about sending your body the message, this muscle is important. We need to keep it. And finally, be patient. Real metabolic healing doesn't happen over a weekend. It happens through hundreds of ordinary decisions. One meal, one walk, one workout, one good night's sleep, one choice at a time. Remember, momentum beats intensity. You don't need perfect days. You need consistent days. If today's episode changed the way you think about calories, don't let it become just another piece of information. Remember what we talked about a few episodes back? Information by itself doesn't change your life. Applied information does. So this week, I want you to choose one thing. Not 5, not 10, one. Maybe it's making protein a priority at breakfast. Maybe it's replacing an ultra-processed snack with some real food. Maybe it's reading the ingredient list before you read the calorie count. Maybe it's committing to 2 strength training sessions this week. Or maybe it's simply asking yourself one question before every meal. What signal am I sending my body? Because every meal communicates. Every choice teaches your metabolism something. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is sending better signals more consistently. That's why I coach the way I do. Not because I have another diet to sell you, but because understanding how your body works is far more powerful than simply following another meal plan. When you understand the why, the how becomes much easier. And that's exactly how lasting change happens. One more thing. If your bathroom scale could talk, it'd probably think it's the most important member of your family. Fortunately, it isn't. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one thought. For years, many people have been told that they have a slow metabolism or a broken metabolism, or that their body is somehow working against them. I don't believe that. I believe your metabolism has been listening to the food you've eaten, listening to your sleep, listening to your stress, listening to your activity, listening to the story you've been telling yourself. Your body isn't trying to fight you, it's trying to protect you. It's responding to the environment you've given it. And here's the encouraging part. When you change the signals, your body responds. Not instantly, not perfectly, but faithfully. One meal at a time, one workout at a time, one good night's sleep at a time, one healthier choice, one healthier thought at a time. That's why we don't chase quick fixes. That's why we don't obsess over a single number like the scale. That's why we don't build our health on calories alone. We build it on the 4 pillars: nutrition, sleep, activity, and mindset. Working together, building momentum, creating the kind of health that's designed to last. So the next time someone tells you weight loss is just calories in versus calories out, you can smile and remember this. Calories count, but hormones decide what to do with them. And here's one last thought before we go. Your metabolism isn't your enemy, it's your messenger. The better you learn its language, the better it can serve you. I'm Coach Neil. Thank you for letting me spend a little time with you today. Until next time, stay encouraged, stay curious, and keep building metabolic momentum.